Strange things are afoot at the Circle K.
That kid is back on the escalator again.
Ain't gonna hurt.
Is my boomstick!
Game over, man. It's game over.
Welcome to the Bargain Bin. He is your host, Ben Mason.
And he is your co-host, Sandra Luketic. And today we're talking September's listener pick, submitted by Zero, 1986's Big Trouble in Little China. It's an old movie. Spoilers are coming hard, and they're coming fast. Sandro, John Carpenter.
Yes.
Kurt Russell.
Yes.
Back together again.
Oh, feels like we've never done this before.
It's the PB&J of film for me, man. It's a staple. I love these two. They are amazing.
Have you not had enough of reviewing Kurt Russell movies at this point?
I talked a lot about them for a while, a few months back. But I love John Carpenter. I love Kurt Russell. I feel like the break's been long enough that I'm good to talk about them again.
And even if you weren't, it doesn't matter. It's a fan pick. You got to do it.
This is for you, Zero. How do you not love John Carpenter? How do you not love Kurt Russell? It's a fun man. It's a fun one. I have seen this movie so many times, but it's been so long that there were parts I completely forgot about. Now, your history with this movie is foggy for me.
I've seen it twice
in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. That's fucking great, man. Because I thought this is one that would have been on your radar for a very long time. I feel like this is one of your dad's video store rentals. I feel like everybody has, if not seen this movie, had heard about it enough to almost be able to tell you the entire plot. Obviously, I'm not going to ask your opinion, but after watching this the first time, was this the movie you expected it to be?
No, actually it wasn't. I did not anticipate any sort of supernatural elements.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind that my knowledge of the movie was minimal. I think I knew the movie poster, right? So you see Kurt Russell holding a gun, bunch of shit going on in the background.
Classic.
Supernatural had never crossed my mind. So when that actually hit, it was a little surprising, and it was not what I was expecting. I feel like it would have helped to know that that's what I was in for.
Mm-hmm.
Like my second viewing, I felt a lot more settled in. But like the first time through, that kind of like jarred me a little bit. Not necessarily in a good or bad way. It's just like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing now. So it took a little bit to settle into.
Yeah, jarring is the perfect term. I would use that as well. You think Carpenter, you think Russell, you do not think this kind of movie until after you've watched this movie, and now you just kind of want to see it more, in my opinion. I do want to talk about the supernatural, and we will very early on in the notes, but I know it's time to play your game, and I know that I am not going to do well.
Well, first, just to give proper due, Zero did provide the reason why he chose this movie. So I'm just going to read his response, let people know. Because it's Big Trouble in Little China.
It's a good reason.
Well, that's not done. I was pausing for effect.
Oh.
It's fucking awesome. And I want Sandro to have a good movie experience for his birthday. End of response.
Yes, a belated happy birthday.
Thank you. Now it's time for my true present. And it's listening to you squirm trying to play the game.
Oh, it's not good.
So we have 3 and then our like gold star fourth one.
Okay. Okay. See, this is going to be a rough one for me because I talked Kurt Russell with Hey, did you see this one podcast? So I feel like I covered Escape from New York on their show.
Correct.
As well as Escape from LA.
Correct.
On our show, we did The Thing.
Absolutely fantastic movie.
Second favorite movie of all time. We did Tango and Cash.
Correct.
The way you say that makes me think there's another one.
You can't read too much into what I'm saying, but yes.
God damn it. Is it just one?
Yes.
I can't believe I can't think of it right now. What is number 3?
So perfectly connected to what you were just talking about, we actually had Jason on as a guest when we did Bone Tomahawk.
Oh, God damn it. Bone Tomahawk. Of course. That was a long time ago, though.
Episode 6, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. We've come a long way.
You and Jason have done a lot of Kurt Russell together.
yeah, we have. And I'm happy with that, man. I love Kurt Russell.
I feel like Jason is past due to come back on here and do another Kurt Russell movie.
We'll do Elvis, another John Carpenter, Kurt Russell pairing, which I haven't seen. You say there's 3 and a golden 4th?
Yeah.
We've talked James Hong before.
We did, yes, actually.
Is James Hong in The Perfect Weapon?
He is.
And he's only in The Perfect Weapon, right?
No.
Shit.
You're doing so bad.
I knew it was going to happen. I totally knew it was going to happen.
There's another very obvious connection here.
I mean, he's an amazing actor. I've seen him in so much, but what have we talked about? There's just so many options. I don't know. Is it just one more?
Yeah.
I'm going to be really embarrassed, aren't I? So, yes, you could have just said yes, Sandro.
Yes.
Okay, good. Why am I going to be embarrassed?
Because you've already said the title of the movie.
He's not Tango and Cash. It's Ethan Tango and Cash. God damn it. Fine. Okay.
Oh, all right. You're not going to get the third one.
Well, I was going to say Al Leong.
That's the Gold Star Award. We didn't really give it a proper award, but the last time we said Al Leong, you don't need to list anything. It's just Al Leong at this point.
Oh, wait. No, there is one. There is one.
All right.
I remember he didn't have a big role.
Okay.
I'm right on this, right?
Yes.
Oh, fuck, I got it. It's Tagawa, isn't it?
No.
Cary Tagawa's in this movie.
I didn't see him on the cast list.
I can't be making this up. Yeah, part of the Wing Kong. Fuck. Did I? Oh, God. Did I get that wrong? Who's the other one then?
Peter Kwong.
Oh, Rain?
Yeah.
Where did we see him before? It's not Tango and Cash. It can't be.
No.
Perfect
I laughed because there's no way you would have gotten this one.
Okay.
He was in a little movie called Never Too Young to Die.
What? Really?
He was Stargrove's roommate in school.
Holy shit, really?
Yeah. I saw that on there and it was like, his name is Cliff. And I'm like, who is Cliff and Never Too Young to Die? And then I looked it up and like, yeah, he was Lance Stargrove's roommate
at the very beginning. That's insane.
Yeah, high school, college, whatever that school was.
Well done, Peter Kwong. I still maintain that Cary Tagawa had to have been in this movie. So that gives me a little bit more clout. There was another guy too who was in it. I want to say I remember his name being like Gerald or something, the actor's name. But he was in Showdown in Little Tokyo.
Keep in mind that I do not look at people who don't have images on IMDb profiles.
Yeah, I think it was the guy who came out during the gang fight in the alleyway who had the 2 guns, the 2 pistols.
I stopped looking at people that didn't have pictures because when we got into these 80s and 90s action movies, there were so many people that were just Soldier 1, Soldier 2 that were
fair.
Like, you would see these faces so often that I'm like, okay, if they don't appear on IMDb with a photo, I'm not going to use them. So
okay,
and you are correct. Cary Tagawa was in Big Trouble in Little China, but he is listed as Wing Kong Man extra uncredited.
Okay, he just his face. He has a very recognizable face.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't put him down.
Okay, I guess a win for me, but it doesn't count.
Sure, take it.
I am.
All right, let's get into this movie proper then.
Okay. So we open on a conversation between Egg Shen, played by Victor Wong, and his lawyer. I can't believe we haven't covered Victor Wong before. Mainly because I can't believe we haven't covered Tremors yet. So that will be coming because that movie's amazing, and Victor Wong is a phenomenal actor. Maybe not in this movie, but in general. So I don't know if you recognize the lawyer. I didn't look up his name, but I remember him from being in the X-Files in the first season as Deep Throat.
I didn't watch X-Files, dude.
Don't cheat yourself. Get on that shit.
Probably not going to happen.
I know. There's a lot to get through now.
What is this scene?
I don't know. Obviously, some shit's gone down, and the lawyer needs to know about this man, Jack Burton.
You know how I hate movies that start kind of like in a future scene, and then they go back, and the first part of the movie is a flashback, and you finally get to this eureka moment of, oh, now I get what they were doing in that first scene?
Yeah.
This never comes up.
Yeah, it's true. It's never referenced ever again in the movie, because at the end we see that Egg just leaves. But obviously Jack is an important character. He's on the run or in hiding. Something happened. The only reason I don't fully hate this scene is because of the introduction of magic so early into the film. You were saying you didn't expect the supernatural in it. The first time I saw it, I didn't either. But having this introduced so early in the movie, I think made it a little bit more palatable.
In my defense, though, he just creates some light and stuff. Like, that could be a parlor trick for all we know as the movie goes on.
Oh, okay, you're giving that a lot of credit, but
I just said it as a hypothetical. It could be.
Do you think it was better to introduce this early on in the film, or would you have been happier if it would just like hit you out of nowhere like 2/3 of the way in?
See, I don't think this had much of a bearing on my reaction to the reveal later.
Okay.
So this whole scene could have been just cut out. Just start with Kurt Russell in his truck.
Yes, because I have that we cut to the credits and Jack Burton, Kurt Russell, driving his long haul, the Pork Chop Express. This is how the movie should have started. Because he's just dishing out advice over his CB. None of it really makes any sense.
No.
And I always ask myself, is anybody actually listening? Because nobody responds.
Yeah, no, he's just gotten on his radio and he's talking for the sake of talking. And when you go back, it's almost like this is meant to introduce him as this like brash, no caring, cool character.
Yeah.
But his dialogue here is just kind of lame.
It's super lame. But like lines like, yes, sir, the check's in the mail. Like, this is great. This is great shit. I love all of this. But the whole time I'm wondering if he just likes the sound of his own voice.
That's gotta be it.
It has to be it. And then my next question is, are we actually supposed to like this guy?
We are. We absolutely are, because this character is not your prototypical blueprint action hero. This character is severely flawed in multiple facets and multiple times in the movie. And it's just like you're rooting for the underdog who just happens to be this handsome Kurt Russell.
He's so full of himself and a complete failure.
Yes, he's a flawed hero in every sense of the term.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Jack Burton is a fantastic character. But I have to say, another fantastic character in this movie is the music.
That's a staple of John Carpenter.
Yeah.
You know me, I seldom catch music in anything. And yet when I watch a John Carpenter movie, I know it. I feel it. He makes the mood just by setting the music perfectly every single time.
He really does. And here we get much more of a rock theme than we get synth in other films. But it needs to be this way to pair with Jack. This is why we should have been given this as the intro scene, because it is like a jackhammer of music and character, and it's that punch that we should have gotten instead of that weird lawyer scene with Egg Shen. But then we go from this right into, I guess later that night, he arrives at a Chinese market where he meets up with Wang Chi, played by Dennis Dunn, and some other men to gamble over what I guess are dominoes.
You want transitions? Nope.
No, none. And they go all night, apparently.
Well, it's daylight by the time they're done.
So Jack has won what? $1,148?
48 or 44, but something like that, yeah.
And Wang Chi, who seems to be an antagonist at this point, calls him on the nothing or double bet, which irritates the shit out of me because it's always been double or nothing to me. And he says it repeatedly.
I think that's the idea, dude.
It has to be, right?
His English is not great, but you hit the nail on the head here. They paint this guy as an antagonist here. Like, you get to the point where you think, like when Kurt is like, oh, we're not going to do this, are we? And it's almost like as if they're going to get violent or something like that. And really, he just wants to try and gamble his money back. They turn out to be great friends.
Yeah, which is a really nice twist. I love that. But what are your thoughts on the bottle cutting bet?
Seems like a stupid thing to bet nothing or double on.
Yes. And of course, Wang loses, and Jack refuses to leave his side until he pays up. The full transitions when we see how close they are happens when Jack forces Wang to get into the Pork Chop Express to go to the airport. And as soon as they're in that truck driving together, they really do seem like best friends.
Yeah, but the whole path to get there, no.
Yeah. And there's something very particular that happens in this scene now that they're both in the truck and they're driving. And I don't know if you picked up on it.
I mean, you can't give me that vague of a question and expect me to pick up on it.
No, I believe that this is where Wang starts to become the main character of the movie.
Really?
Jack is not the main character of Big Trouble in Little China. Jack thinks he's the main character in Big Trouble in Little China, but he's the comedic sidekick.
Huh. I didn't get that.
He's inept all of the time. Wang's the guy who will start fights, finish fights, get him through tough scenarios. Jack is along for the ride to provide the humor.
Yeah, no, that didn't come off as that way to me.
But think about the events of the movie and think what Jack did to initiate almost anything.
I don't know. That's almost like saying that like Jacques Clouseau isn't the main character, even though he's not like the bumbly, or Inspector Gadget wasn't the main character. You can be the comedic relief, be inept, and still be the main character.
Maybe the main focus, but he does nothing for the plot, really, ever. He's along for the ride, and we just see him on camera a lot. But even then, we kind of see him on camera as much as Wang is on camera.
He's on more than Wang.
Yeah. But yeah, anyway, where are they going? They're going to the airport. Why?
Because they got to pick up Wang's fiance,
who
he hasn't seen in 5 years.
Miao Yin, green-eyed Miao Yin. And here, Jack spots Gracie Law, played by Kim Cattrall, and immediately tries to put the moves on her.
He turns to Wang and he's like, who is that? Ultimately, Wang does know who that is.
Yeah.
But why would he assume that he just knows who this random white woman in the airport is?
No idea. None whatsoever. But even Wang's like, she's trouble.
Because she's a lawyer.
We find out eventually, yeah. A terrible lawyer. The Lords of Death, a street gang from Chinatown, show up, and Gracie is noticeably disturbed. I'm confused as to why they grab Gracie's friend Tara before letting her go and then abducting Miao Yin.
They say it kind of briefly, almost in passing, in the scene where they're kind of going over the details in the restaurant in just a little bit. They went for a joyride and just decided to grab a woman for their industry as they were there.
Wow,
Like it was
okay.
supposedly completely on a whim.
Which is weird because it seems like this is a pretty solid plot going on here already. Like everything's been planned out. So I missed the fact that it was all circumstance.
Yeah. When they're talking to the uncle the first time in the restaurant, they just say, oh, they were just going for a joyride.
Of course, Jack and Wang pursue. So back to Egg Shen leading a tour bus through San Francisco's Chinatown, which is, I have written down ... interrupted by Jack.
I love how Jack's first attempt to be heroic after they grab her is to be like, hey, buddy, we need to talk, and get his ass kicked.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens a lot to Jack.
I love how flawed he is as a character.
Yeah.
Not as a character, as a hero, sorry.
Yes. Jack driving the truck through those alleyways really made me anxious. It looked great, though. It looked really, really good.
It feels like they would have gotten stuck, and an ambulance would have been behind them trying to get through a la Top Gear.
Yeah. No, definitely would.
I love how Wang was like, I'll drive. And then Jack decides they're going to take his truck instead. Like, that's somehow a more gas efficient plan.
Yeah, no backseat there. It's going to be a squished ride back, too. Quick look at James Hong, which I feel like I've always missed. In an odd young human form, which we never see him as again in the movie, because that's also a plot point, so it feels like they stepped on their own toes there.
This was a clear problem to me the first time I saw the movie. He talks about how he's like entombed in this old man's body, but we see him take multiple forms of younger, more capable versions of himself throughout the movie. It's like, are you really that? Are you really that entombed in it?
But the thing is, when we see him with all of the makeup on and everything, that's a spiritual form. The first time we see him, though, he just looks like a young James Hong. Like, well, why don't we see that again? Someone fucked up here, guys.
Yeah, they probably did.
Jack and Wang encounter a funeral procession and decide to leave, but instead we get a pretty intense gang fight. So we've got the Shang Tsung, who are the good guys, and the Wing Kong, led by Al Leong, who are much less than good.
I'll never get tired of seeing Al Leong in movies, man.
How could you? He's absolutely amazing in everything he's ever been in. This is not the martial arts fight I was expecting the first time I saw this. But what a fucking crazy shootout.
Yeah, you see all of these guys, and they're all carrying different types of melee weapons and stuff like that. And then they just start firing guns at each other.
Yeah. Yeah, and they all have machine guns. It's hilarious. But I love that you brought up the weapons they had, because we get a martial arts fight after the shootout, which doesn't make any sense.
See, I didn't think they all had guns. It looked like just like a few of the first like front row guys did, almost like cavalry would fire off arrows before the foot soldiers went in.
Yeah, but these guys just popped out of nowhere with machine guns on both sides, like they were ready for it or expecting it.
I knew we should have brought more than one clip each.
Yeah. But then, like you said, we've got like bow staffs, knives, cleavers, axes, but some guys just straight up have 2x4s. This is a crazy fucking fight, guys.
No need for consistency.
What a great fight, though. Limbs being broken, people are flying through windows and then back out of windows. But then we get the introduction of the 3 storms, and everyone's terrified.
See, I'm a video game guy. So the first storm we see, I'm just like, Raiden?
There's no way Raiden was not inspired by this. There's no fucking way.
It's the hat, you see.
Yeah.
And I guess the lightning powers, too.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, thunder, rain, and lightning. I want to ask you what your thoughts are on these 3. But before that, why is everyone here terrified? Because the Wing Kong work for Lo Pan, and so did the Three Storms, and we see them together repeatedly throughout the movie. So why are the Wing Kong scared?
I guess they're aware that these three show no discretion because they murder everyone on both sides.
That is a good point.
So they must have some knowledge of a history of it.
But it seems like all of the Wing Kong that get murdered show up later in the movie.
Yeah, well, that's it. We ran out of extras,
Yeah.
Like we have to reuse them because when they like run out of there and then come out of the building, and you just kind of see like the last couple being dropped by them.
Yeah,
everybody is down.
Yeah. Did you like the inclusion of these characters?
No, I didn't like these characters in the slightest.
Yeah, see, I don't either, and everyone else I talk to seems to love Thunder, Rain, and Lightning. Like, they're the greatest characters in the movie, and I just don't get it. I don't want them in here.
Well, they're meant to be like these godlike figures with powers, but they ultimately don't prove to be that consequential to what happens.
No, not at all.
And they eventually just get dispatched like anybody else. So it's like, okay, why are you building up these imposing figures when...
Except for Thunder.
It's like you just gave up on the idea.
Thunder goes out in a very strange way.
Mm-hmm.
But Jack and Wang panic, drive straight through everything, eventually running over Lo Pan, played by James Hong, who we talked about before. And they don't actually run him over. He kind of passes through the truck. Jack gets out terrified and is temporarily blinded by Lo Pan's magic. And Wang grabs him and they run away.
It's very important to know that, eye contact with him would blind you because it's a very vital part of the movie moving forward.
Yeah.
There's so much inconsistency.
Doesn't come up at all.
No.
Now, the funny thing is, I have less of a problem with that than I do at Wang's attempt to clear Jack's eyes.
I don't have a problem with it. I just find it funny.
What do you remember what they do as soon as they get away from him and Jack saying he can't see?
Splash water from the ground on him?
Yeah, Wang says it's only temporary and then scoops dirty city pothole water into Jack's eyes. I'm like, that's probably going to do a lot worse, really. A lot worse. But yeah, the chaos here is amazing, like you said earlier, because the Lords of Death show up again, corner our heroes, who just turn around and run. And we see them run past the aftermath of the Three Storms, kicking the shit out of everyone else. And then these two escape through a nearby building into another alleyway. So we're 24 minutes into the movie, and so much shit has happened here.
But at the same time, very little has.
Yeah. There's always something going on screen. It's just, at this point, we can't really piece any of it together. None of it really makes sense.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Jack's attire?
It feels like very classic Kurt Russell attire.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't see Kurt Russell in a movie wearing jeans and like a white tank top at some point, I'm not watching a Kurt Russell movie.
Yeah. I love that shirt. I have that shirt, actually. You can't really get away with wearing it today, though.
No.
But his costuming is phenomenal. Anyway, we cut to Wang's restaurant. I did kind of enjoy seeing how upset Uncle Chu is about the guys seeing Lo Pan, and Jack is just arguing on the phone about getting his truck back.
He has no idea what is going on.
Yeah. He just wants his stolen truck. That's all he wants. He doesn't give a shit about anything else. Eddie shows up. Now, Wang kind of introduces him as the maitre d', but he seems like a very professional individual, more of a businessman. So I'm not entirely sure what his gig is.
Well, he's a maitre d'. He's just very fancy and formal. But
yeah,
honestly, first time watching this, I'm like, is this guy going to be like a mole? Like, he gives off almost like subtle, suspicious, villainous vibes.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, first time watch. That's exactly what I thought. And then I violently laugh, when Jack and Eddie shake hands. Jack isn't even looking at him. He just kind of blindly reaches out, grabs his hand, and shakes it so hard, like it looks like he's going to rip Eddie's arm off because he's still yelling into the phone about trying to get his truck back.
And I love how during like the camera cuts, he's put on a robe.
Yeah.
Like at some point for some reason.
Well, he's drying all of his clothes.
Yeah.
Gracie just shows up out of nowhere.
No.
No?
Gracie Law. We all have to say the full name.
I don't want to. Fine. Gracie Law shows up out of nowhere. And almost immediately, Jack's forgotten about his truck and he's back into pickup mode. So, looking at this cast of characters right now, Jack, Wang, Gracie Law, Egg Shen, Eddie, and Uncle Chu. What a group, man. I really enjoy all of these characters a lot.
I did by the end of the movie.
Oh, who are you kind of indifferent on?
Well, like I said, I got very villainous vibes. Gracie Law is also pretty annoying. Announcing her name and putting her like hands to her sides, almost like a superhero pose.
Yeah.
No, I'm telling you, like the first impressions were awful. By the end of the movie, I liked them all. But when I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, this is just so ragtag and not good.
See, that's why I loved it. And they all seemed slightly larger than life, except for Jack. Jack is very much larger than life. But they almost seem like caricatures, which really works now that we've seen, the Three Storms, stuff like that. It just, I don't know. It wouldn't work if everybody in the movie was so down to earth. And I love just how quirky these all are. So Gracie believes that Miao Yin has been taken to the White Tiger to be sold quickly, which is a very dark element to the movie that I completely forgot about.
I find it fascinating how multiple characters in this movie know so much about not knowing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems like people just randomly know shit they should never know.
What's the maitre d's' name again?
Eddie.
Eddie is just like, yeah, they stole your truck. Oh, that gang was... I believe he's the one who says that gang was just out on a joyride. It's like, how do you have access to all this information?
Yeah.
Like, how do you... I get it if you're supposed to be the character with your like ear to the ground, but we're never given any reason to believe that you'd know all of this stuff.
And Gracie also just knows that Miao Yin is at the White Tiger.
Well, she's Gracie Law,
I guess. So Wang recruits Jack for the rescue mission. And I fucking love how smug he is all of the time, dude. It's so good. When she walks up to him, she's like, I need you to be relaxed. And his immediate reaction is, I am relaxed. But what are your thoughts on this plan? Like on Jack's disguise?
I loved it.
I loved it too, but it's so implausible.
Strategically, as a plan, it's terrible.
Yeah.
From a movie viewing experience, it's entertainingly delightful.
Oh, that suit is terrible. And the glasses and hairstyle, perfect.
But giving Kurt Russell the opportunity to play this role within this movie for a short period of time was just phenomenal.
Yeah. We've used this term a lot lately. It's charming.
Yeah.
The massive green orb that appears over the brothel really caught me off guard, though.
Here's my issue with a lot of the magic and supernatural element that we see in the movie. There's no consistency to it.
Agreed.
It's almost like at one point, there's this random magic power that someone has, but then they don't have it again, and they don't call on it again. It just happens one time for plot convenience.
Yep.
Even if it could have been useful in another situation, it's like, why do this then?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say one thing, and we're going to get into that exact thing. Your timing here is impeccable.
Well, I planned it that way.
So the Three Storms arrive, promptly kick Jack's ass, and abduct Miao Yin. And I'm thinking this girl has already had a horrible day all around.
Yeah.
But there is something that's happening here repeatedly that I should find annoying, but I don't. And I think this might have been an issue for you. based off of what you said about magic and consistency.
Okay.
Instead of organically incorporating an important plot device into the film, they just name it and then give a condensed info dump of what it is and then quickly move on. So they do this immediately with who is Lopan, and they just give like a very quick description of what the base understanding of Lopan is as a businessman. What is the Wing Kong exchange? We'll just get a massive info dump there so we don't have to worry about having to have worked them into the movie previously. Normally I'd have a problem with that. For some reason, this movie is goofy enough where I'm like, this is obviously intentional. Did you get that vibe?
Yes, but it didn't bother me as much as you thought it would.
Okay.
Simply because it was pretty easy to let it just fade into background noise.
Yeah.
It is entirely convenient and it can be annoying, but when you're just watching the movie, you can easily just get past it and get absorbed into what's going on.
Well, I found out that this is all because of the extensive rewrites that went on with the script. Like the movie we got is very different than the movie that was written and originally proposed. So I feel like they changed everything they had to, but had to add different elements and didn't have the time or the writer to do it. So they just had someone quickly throw this into the movie and hope that everyone was okay with it. And I think it was good. I think it worked.
But at some point, you got to realize that like some of this is not necessary. You know, the first explanation of Lopan as a businessman, it doesn't come up and it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. And we get explanations about Lopan like this, like 2-3 other times in the movie.
You know, a couple of times you give the Lopan explanations from like the more lore standpoint and what he is as like a magic user and his intentions.
Yeah.
But like, for example, when they're going into how he's like this big businessman, it's like, well, the trafficking business that they kidnap the people from, it's not directly related to it. So really, it just explains why he has this nice building. I wouldn't have questioned that.
The Wing Kong exchange. Exactly.
Just leave it out. There's no need for it.
Yeah. Next up, we get a line from Jack, which just says, okay, you people sit tight, hold the fort, and keep the home fires burning. If we're not back by dawn, he winks at Gracie. Call the president.
He's not smooth.
He's not. But this immediately makes me think that the version of Ash Williams we get in Army of Darkness is directly inspired by Jack Burton.
It could be.
I feel like they're way too similar. Not Evil Dead 2 Ash, but Army of Darkness Ash.
Well, I mean, this is why I think that Jack Burton is such a entertaining character, is because he's not smooth. He doesn't deliver great lines, and he's often very bad at combat. But he carries himself with a confidence like he's great at all of these things.
That's just it. He's so cocky and self-assured, but he's such a failure at everything. Like, he and Wang infiltrate the Wing Kong exchange in the most ridiculous way.
Phone company.
Just burst through the door, be like, I work at night, so I guess the switchboard's back here, and just storm past the security table.
Huh? Yeah, just got to say it with confidence, that's all.
And it works.
It doesn't work. They let them in. They know what's going to happen.
Yeah, they know. They know exactly who they are. But the fact that Jack, like, you can tell he's so happy with himself that this plan worked perfectly, even though it didn't at all. The writing on the door after they get inside. I love the character of Wang. He can be so fucking funny.
Okay.
Well, when Jack says, well, what does it say? And Wang's like, hell of boiling oil. And Jack goes, you're kidding. Like, yeah, I am. It says, keep out.
It's so good. There are some genuine, like, chemistry moments between these two. But why they hid their friendship at the beginning is beyond me.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun reveal, but an unnecessary one.
Yeah.
My next note we've talked about, but I'm like, notice how Jack hasn't been successful at anything yet.
No.
So they find a secret elevator and head into the depths of the building. And again, we get a smash explanation about Lopan's supernatural powers. And again, I'm fine with it. And this is where I realized that the movie itself doesn't really slow down. Sure, there are moments without action, but any moment without action tends to have a fair amount of comedy, and they go back and forth pretty well for an hour and 40 minutes. Did you find that there were any boring parts to the film, other than the original opening?
Not particularly, but we are almost an hour in, and if you were to actually summarize the key events of what's happened, it's barely anything.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel like nothing has happened.
It feels like so much. But yeah, it's a pretty paper thin plot. There's just so much happening on screen all the time. Like the elevator water trap.
Which is a reflection. Once they break out and they get into the chamber with the skeletons,
I was terrified.
This is the hell of upside down sinners. It's like, really? Everything's so specific with this?
Yeah, those corpses, man, they were alive though, right? Some of them were moving.
I thought that was just like kind of subtle swaying in the water type thing.
Oh, maybe. But of course, as soon as they get out of there, they're captured.
Well, yeah, they knew exactly where they were. Like, they let them in. They knew.
And it's time for them to meet Lopan. And I have to say, the set design here is absolutely stunning. That hallway lined with the statues.
Mm-hmm.
The color scheme, everything about this is absolutely beautiful. I love how that continues through pretty much every room we see in this underground Lopan headquarters, I guess. So yeah, tied to wheelchairs, they meet Old Man Lopan. And the makeup that James Hong is wearing is ridiculous and fantastic. But it's only made better by his voice.
He's so good in this scene.
He's so good. It's absolutely hilarious. Like, he takes on all of the comedy in a scene, and he's the villain. And honestly, throughout the rest of the movie, he's a great villain. But the fact that he can go back and forth so easily is astounding.
Like this scene where he's completely ignoring the gravity of the situation for his victims.
Yeah.
And he's just like, tell me about her. Where's she from? And it's just like, he is so likable in this moment.
He's pretty good, man. But what's your take on his story? That he's like trapped in the body of the old man, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, see, that's the part where I found a little flimsy because, like, trapped in the body makes me think he can't get out of it. But he can go into these spirit forms on a whim. He can go into young version. I don't get the feeling of trapped here.
With reason, yes. It is kind of weak. It's a cool story, but they haven't followed their own narrative to make us believe it. I do like Jack's reaction to that whole story of, I'm supposed to buy this shit? Well, Wang's trying the entire time. He's like, no, this is all real. This is all real. And Jack's like, I'm just not having it. Gracie, Eddie, and reporter friend Margot show up at the business and demand to be shown around.
Why?
What do you even say at this point?
Why would they think that it would be a normal occurrence to be like, give us a tour, show us around? Like, you don't just walk into a building and say, give me all the information I'm looking for.
Even at night, like, how do you think this is a good idea?
It's like, who had the worst plan? The ones pretending to be the phone company, or the ones that just came in and demanded what they wanted?
And thank you for bringing up the phone company again, because when Jack and Wang burst through that door, Jack just has that phone in his hands and he's just holding it in front of his face and stomping forward. And even just thinking back to that scene brings a massive smile to my face. But yes, I think as shitty of a plan as that was, it's much better than what Grace, Eddie, and Margot are doing here.
Well, yeah, because it was a plan.
Yeah, I guess. Obviously, it's not a good idea, and they get gassed in the elevator.
Oh, who could have seen that coming? Because obviously the like I forget which of the three it is, right?
I believe it's Thunder.
Thunder shows up and he's like, I'll take them, and he's got this huge smile on his face. He's just like, it's a trap, run.
Yeah. Obviously, you do not trust this man. Look at him. Look at the way he's looking at you. He's trying not to do a maniacal smile right now.
He's not trying not to do one. He's just flat out doing one. I feel like if the scene after they get knocked out was to continue even for a minute longer, he'd turn to like someone and be like, yeah, I know. I can't believe they fell for it either.
And this is why I am a god. Wang and Jack are left in a cell of sorts, a chamber, where we get another story about Lo Pan and the stories that have been told about him over the centuries, sure. But they actually break out of the wheelchair, only to jump back in when Thunder enters and tries to drop Eddie in the chamber, and the three jump him and escape. Well, Jack jumps him and escapes. Thoughts on the wheelchair scene of Thunder knocking Jack back into it and him flying down the hallway?
Needlessly extended. Like they're trying to build this like tension. Oh, is he gonna fall? Oh, he's managed to kind of like balance himself forward and jump out of the chair. And it's like not for a second that I think he was gonna fall out.
No, never. But I mean, knocking out all the guards, fine. It serves a purpose, I guess. I don't have to actually fight them. Almost falling down the well, it just really seemed odd to me. But now we've, honestly, for the purposes of podcast, I feel like we fully entered this movie is kind of hard to describe territory.
Okay.
Right down to like the gun swapping scene.
I kind of like this scene because all of them ended up with a different gun than they started with.
Yeah. They all swapped. You can't really go with who took what, but it was just so matter of fact and everybody was on the same page. It came across very funny and was done incredibly well.
Well, there's multiple types of exchanges here because the exchange between Kurt Russell and Dennis Dunn is like flat out like, hey, can we switch? I'd like this. I'd like that. And after that switch happens, the other two just kind of look at each other and subtly hand off. It's just like background. It's like, yeah, there's two very different ways to do it. And of course, Kurt Russell's is going to be loud and boisterous.
Of course. It's Jack Burton, gun form. The transformation to younger Lo Pan, or Spirit Lo Pan, is pretty fucking crazy, man.
I'm not getting the feeling of being trapped in that old man's body.
No. But it's a spiritual form versus physical form. I get that. But him transforming and then floating through all of the furniture in that room and then passing through the wall and then finding where he's been keeping and now floating Miao Yin. It looks pretty good.
It does. It's a little unnecessary. Just walk through the door, dude. She's right there.
Another solid martial arts scene as the three guys try to free the women from their holding cells. Anything you want to bring up in this scene?
Wang is doing all of the actual like heavy lifting, and Kurt Russell at this point is just kind of hiding. He's getting the drop on them from climbing through the rafters. He sees Margot. He's asking, but it's like, yeah, you're not doing any of the work.
And he doesn't. He almost never does anything. But we get another escape through water, which I find even more claustrophobic than the first one. Some great moments between Jack and Gracie, though. And we start to see that chemistry.
You notice how the villains were chasing them and then shooting into the water unsuccessfully because it's water?
Yeah.
But not one of them decides to try and jump in the water after them?
No, obviously none of them can swim, Sandro. You don't swim if you work for Lo Pan. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Getting to the that green door after they get out of the water or the sewer, and Jack reassures everybody that they're almost out. Another one of my favorite scenes. I know where we are. We're almost out of here. Opens the door. Al Leong and the gang are there. Closes the door. We may be trapped.
But he does say very astutely, they only saw me hide.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a heroic moment for him, which he didn't have a lot of.
No. What do you think about this action scene? Because I think this is one of the funniest in the movie. Just where he shoots a few of the guys as they're coming through the door and then hides to like regroup and reload and get his knife. But when he jumps back out to continue shooting, Wang's already knocked out everyone.
Yeah. Isn't this where he goes to take his knife out and hucks it off to the side? And that's what delays him even further, giving Wang more time to take out the guards. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. I don't think anybody really remembers Kurt Russell for his comedic skills, but he is a funny fucking dude.
Mm-hmm.
So they all escape the building except for Gracie, who's abducted by the best, worst looking monster I've ever seen.
Oh, this was terrible.
I loved it. It felt like it was they ripped this guy out of the movie and used him in TMNT 2.
Fine, but I just mean the method to which she was captured. Because if she just kept walking when that door opened, she'd be fine.
Oh, she'd be fine. She had to stop and take a look at something we see off screen. And that's where this giant monster arm comes out and like basically grabs her by the face and pulls her in.
Yeah, just keep walking. You're trying to escape kidnapping in a building you know is filled with terror. You're the last one in line, and you stop to look through this door that opened. No, just keep heading for the exit.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to have to go back and rescue Miao Yin anyway, so why not have to rescue Gracie Law?
Yeah, let's add more to it.
Yeah. Lo Pan confronts Gracie in the room with Miao. This whole plan seems very specific. We've been told about it time and time again. But now we can just swap out Miao Yin and sacrifice Gracie instead because she also has green eyes. Is Gracie supposed to be Chinese? Am I missing something?
No, I think that factor just ceased to matter at this point.
But they bring it up later, like the green eyes. Like, yeah, but before it, the woman with green eyes had to be Chinese, and this is obviously not.
When they meet Lo Pan and they're sitting in the wheelchairs, he specifically says, like a Chinese woman with green eyes, and Kurt Russell says how rare that is. But I must have thought one would have come up, and it's just like, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Apparently it doesn't matter anymore.
I get what you're saying now about how story elements here are just abandoned or they're brought up repeatedly and still just don't matter.
Nope.
So a group of rescuers enter the subterranean caves of Chinatown, which looks to be like a completely different fantasy world. That completely threw me off. I did like the set design here, but do you find that seemed to be a little bit much?
At this point, I'm just like, whatever happens, okay. Like, this is not a movie that you can take seriously, and you can't look for consistency in it. You just have to be along for the ride.
And that's what the rest of this movie is. It's just a crazy ride. Because we're in Lo Pan's hall next. Thunder does a quick blade demonstration that lasts well, it's not quick, I guess. It doesn't last forever, but I can't take it seriously because of his leopard print bracelet things. I don't know if you noticed those, but they were jarring. They look like leopard print snap bracelets from the 90s.
I actually didn't notice that, no.
It's so bad. This entire wedding ceremony, man, I don't know. I really don't know. They just start introducing things like surviving the burning blades, like both women hang on to two swords that glow gold and lift them up where they touch this orb in the ceiling. But it doesn't matter because next we get a cave monster jump scare. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening now? Like, I'm along for this ride, this crazy ride that no longer makes any sense. But can someone just give me like a little bit of an explanation here or there?
No, you get none.
No, we don't. And my next note just says, wait, how much time has passed? Because Miao Yin and Gracie are now totally done up in costume and have new makeup. But we just saw them cut to a jump scare, then cut back to them, and they're completely different looking. We still have about 30 minutes left of this movie, and it feels like the ending is being crammed down our throats.
It must have been a magic makeover. Snap of the fingers.
It must have been. Because we go back to the wedding ceremony, and honestly, at this point, I'm just trying to pay so much attention to what's going on in the background. The only thing that stood out to me is like, Jesus Christ, Lopan really loves him some neon lighting.
Oh, yeah.
It's everywhere. I mean, I love it. I think it looks fantastic. Done specifically for stylistic effect.
There's like a big skull statue doorway. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And it literally just has an outline of neon lighting. You can even see when they go to closer looks that it's just strips of neon lighting.
Exactly.
It looks so good, though.
It is beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. I do have to ask what you think of that weird floating D&D monster thing.
Oh, I hated it. That was maybe my least favorite thing in this movie.
Yeah, I really hated it too. I forget what they called it, but fuck that thing.
It honestly, I don't remember what it's called, but it's essentially a sentry. They're like, what it sees, Lopan sees, and then they shoot it, and it's just like, that's another thing that was completely unnecessary.
Yeah, we didn't need that. We could just have him sense that they were there, and that would have been fine.
You could have just had like a tripwire.
Yeah. What do you think about the next bit where Egg Shen makes a potion for everyone?
I still don't know exactly what this potion is. Two viewings later, it just tricks you into thinking you're not feeling pain.
Honestly, dude, it the effect that we see, it just looks like Molly.
Yeah. They're just drugged.
Super high and feel great. I did like during the toast that they did. Egg Shen's doing this one toast about like, Chinese spiritualism and everything, and Jack is not having it. So Wang just rips into this hardcore American, good old USA patriotism, and Jack's 100% on board now. You have a problem with this one?
It's just not necessary. It's like, let's just fill time on an elevator ride into the building and have them have this like conversation. It's like, or just have them drink the potion and be ready to go.
Yeah. And basically it was what happens. Like they disrupt the ceremony and we get another insane fight. Lopan actually begins to regain his human form. I did like Jack killing one of the warriors, but gets pinned under his weight.
So all he needed to do was complete a wedding ceremony to start becoming human again? Like,
yeah, and I think the sacrifice was to appease his spiritual emperor character.
Which would have, made it permanent then? I
don't know. It changes, man.
I'm trying to follow it, but I shouldn't.
Yeah. Wang kills Rain in a ridiculous wire martial arts scene.
At least Wang is fantastic for his martial arts scenes.
He's great. He's so good. Throughout the entire movie, he's great. But what do you think about Lopan and Egg Shen having that weird spirit duel?
I really didn't have any patience for this at this point.
Yeah, I just wrote, not a fan.
No,
it didn't even look good.
I feel like there's some major parts of this movie where they were really unsure of even what kind of movie they were making.
Well, they were. Like I said, this movie had been rewritten so many times that it was nothing like what the original film was supposed to be. But I do have to say, as much as we have praised certain elements of the cinematography and then shit on some others, Dean Cundey did do all of this, a constant collaborator with Carpenter, and I do feel like the movie itself looks great a lot of the time.
Oh yeah, set design, imagery, fantastic.
The way it is all represented on film looks fantastic, yeah. Except for that weird sentry monster thing. So Jack rescues Gracie. Gracie lost Andrew, in case you didn't know her last name.
I was confused there for a second. Luckily you clarified for me.
They finally make it out in the elevator. only to interrupt Lo Pan's sacrifice of Miao Yin. Jack and Gracie have already kissed in the elevator, and Jack, trying to be a tough ass with lipstick smeared all over his face, is pretty funny. Oh, I thought you would have liked that part.
I did. I really did, because as we discussed earlier, Kurt Russell's comedic performance is vastly underrated. But it's just another one of those where it's like the movie doesn't know what tone it's going for.
It's definitely going comedy now. I think it's been going comedy the whole time. It's more of a how comedic do we want to be kind of thing. What did you think of Lo Pan's death?
Honestly, kind of lackluster.
It really was. I didn't expect. No, I forgot how he died in the long time that has been since I saw this last. I did not expect Jack to be the one to kill him.
Well, he had to do something by the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. But it even starts off with him bumbling by like throwing the knife at Lo Pan, missing. It hits a gong or whatever, dents it, hits the floor. I'm like, this is great. This is classic Jack. Lo Pan picks the knife up, throws it back at him. He catches it and then just whips it at Lo Pan, and it hits him in the forehead, killing him.
See, this is why this is so lackluster. I get Jack catching the knife. It's a little bit of a callback to when he caught the bottle,
Yeah.
When he was gambling. But all it took to defeat Lo Pan was to throw it back at him?
Well, he's a human now, right?
Even still,
I know.
He just caught a knife and threw it. And you're like, wow, that was anticlimactic.
Also, Jack threw a knife from across a room through a man's skull.
Which is right after he threw a knife so bad that it hit a gong and fell to the ground.
Yeah. And then another one-liner of something like, it's all in the reflexes. Like, you clumsy John Wayne motherfucker.
Which is exactly what he said when he caught the bottle at the beginning. Exactly. So it's like, if you didn't get that this is a callback to that, we're going to use the exact same line. It's like, okay.
Can you explain Thunder's death to me?
No, I can't. Any question that you have for me that starts with, can you explain? Just know that the answer is no.
So, he gets so mad at seeing Lo Pan's corpse that he explodes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, all I can imagine, if we want to try and come up with an actual answer, is that Lo Pan is somehow the source that keeps these guys alive?
I don't know.
And maybe there's a delay after he was defeated? But no, I got nothing, man.
The deaths of the three storms are weird because Rain actually dies from wounds given to him by Wang during their fight. That makes sense. Thunder just explodes from anger. And during their escape, after Lightning tries to corner them, and I think Egg Shen just throws a Buddha statue at him and it rips his head off.
Well, this is what I'm saying. They built these three up to be these imposing godlike figures with, magic powers. And then they're so inconsequential.
Yeah. Yeah, they all die a horrible death. Except for Rain. I still like that one. But yeah, then they, in their attempt to flee, end up finding the Pork Chop Express and drive off to freedom. And then we just cut to Wang's restaurant. This is a weird way to wrap things up. Egg decides to go to China. So I don't know how we got that lawyer scene at the beginning.
It didn't need to be there.
Yeah. Eddie and Margot pair up.
For no reason at all. I guess they're just like, all right, well, we might as well give these two something.
Yeah. Wang pays Jack nothing or triple. Yeah. But I do love the split between Gracie Law and Jack. She basically offers to join him and he turns her down. And Margot even asks, aren't you going to kiss her? And Jack pauses. A drawn-out pause and just goes, no.
Why?
It's completely out of character. but I think he's trying to be that like super cool dude that he's always tried to have been. And now this is the moment where it actually plays out as such in a movie. If the movie were serious, which this isn't. So it in fact does not actually work, which I think is quite funny. I mean, if you try and analyze like, well, that doesn't make sense. And you think about what we just watched, what we've seen him try and do. Now we're at this point and we see him do this. You're like, this actually makes a lot of sense because of how stupid it is.
It didn't make sense to me, man. It didn't work for me.
Maybe I just talked it over in my brain to the point where I'm like, yeah, this is a brilliant scene. But we cut to a rainy night, maybe later that same night. Don't really know. Jack's back behind the wheel, ranting his usual bullshit, and we get the reveal that the giant monster from the caves has stowed away on the truck. And then just cut to black, roll credits. Is this a good ending?
No, not even a little bit, man.
I know. It's terrible. What happened? What happened?
I already told you, I can't explain anything.
Oh God, I don't know. Set it up for a sequel, maybe, which we've been promised for years and never got.
There's no way that this is enough for a sequel.
No,
because you're not making a sequel centered around just this monster.
No, there is like a series of comic books that do follow up with this.
Unless Lopan like possessed the monster, I don't see how this would work moving forward. But I didn't read the comics, so I don't know.
Well, some of the comics are crossovers between Jack and Snake Plissken.
Okay, that's pretty cool. I'd probably check that out.
Fucking cool, right? Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a weird one. It's definitely a weird one. But you want to talk numbers on this cult classic?
Sure.
John Carpenter, 86. He's already made a name for himself. We've got Kurt Russell back on board. It's not fully known exactly what the budget is from what I can find, but they've got a rough estimate. Do you want to guess roughly where the budget would have been for this?
I feel like 8 to 10.
19 to 25.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Want to guess what the gross is?
62.
11.1.
Ooh.
Yeah, this did not do well. Not well at all. At the time, I should say. It is definitely a cult classic film now. And that is apparent in the reviews.
Okay.
So on IMDb, out of 10, where do you think Big Trouble in Little China sits?
7.1.
7.2.
Oh.
Percentage of positive reviews from the critics on Rotten Tomatoes?
68.
74.
Okay. Close.
Audience?
83.
82.
Oh,
you were
man,
almost
so
spot
close.
on. Well done. No, it's crazy, man. For being such a financial disaster, which it seems like John Carpenter was good at, which I never, ever really got. Everyone loves this movie. So I think that is why we should kind of get into the awards, because I really want to hear what you and Zero like and dislike about this.
Okay, so starting off with least favorite character, Zero wrote, at 80 minutes into the movie, as the big fight starts, there's a pair of background guys slowly moving towards each other and slowly tap their weapons together. There's not much to say about any bad characters. I feel everyone tried and wanted this to be a good movie. Class act of everyone bringing their A game. So he picked a couple background guys.
Okay.
And your least favorite character?
Egg Shen, Victor Wong. Which is crazy because I love Victor Wong. I just didn't really see the need for the Egg Shen character. He felt shoehorned in. Like, I'm glad to see him on screen. I always am. But every time his character was trying to take the lead of a scene, I just wanted to see more of Wang. I wanted to see more of Jack. Give me Gracie Law. give me Lo Pan. Like, seeing James Hong on screen at any point, I felt like he was stealing every scene. Like, and he was owed the attention. Like, he demanded it, and you didn't feel bad giving it to him. I felt like Egg Shen was just there for story purpose and not entertainment, just to keep things moving along. So when he would pop up and be like, okay, that's fine, I get it, everyone's friends with him, he's their source for like mysticism and whatnot, but I don't care. Who's your least favorite character?
So at least Egg Shen served a purpose.
Yeah.
Kate Burton as Margot could have been written out of this movie entirely, and it would have had no impact at all.
Yeah, that's true.
I have no problem with her performance by any means, but this is absolutely a pointless character that did not need to be there. I think the most purpose she served was at one point Gracie Law said that, like threatened that she would write a story about it. But it's like, she could have even just said, I have a friend who will write a story about this. She did not need to be in this movie at all.
Fair enough.
So 0 for best character or favorite character went with Dennis Dunn. The guy's fantastic in this movie. His energy and line delivery instill hope and faith. This character is going to kick ass.
Yeah. I mean, he's a wonderful character for sure.
Now, I went with Kurt Russell as Jack Burton because I just love Kurt Russell. I really don't have a better explanation.
That's fine. You don't need one. I picked him too.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
He's just so ridiculously over the top, cocky, self-assured, with no reasoning behind it. Like, there is nothing to back up this attitude. And I love that he is constantly embarrassing himself. Everybody needs to save Jack at some point. He's his own worst enemy. And like I said, I always felt like Jack Burton believes that he is the main character of this narrative when he is the comedic sidekick.
No, he's the main character.
For you, he is.
I think a lot of people would agree with me.
Yeah, there's a lot of dumb people out there.
The thoughts and opinions expressed by Ben do not reflect those of BS Barking Bin as a whole.
Mine do.
So favorite or most memorable line? 0 wrote, "It's all in the reflexes. I still say this line all the time."
Yeah, I mean, that's one you can definitely use in public. Mine you can't.
Okay, what was yours?
It's when they're trying to convince Jack to do their first rescue mission. And Gracie starts off with, "I'd go with you, but..." And Jack cuts her off. He's like, "I know, there's a problem with your face."
Yeah, because earlier she said that she can't go in because they'd recognize her face when they were going. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and just the delivery. Just telling her there's a problem with her face. I'm like, you fucking asshole, man.
It's the exact same message, but he says it in a way that's so much worse.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You?
So it's when he's arguing with the insurance company.
Yeah, and, that's a good one.
He says, "I'm going to tell you about an accident, and I don't want to hear act of God." which is so good because technically
it was an act of 3 gods.
Exactly. But like, there's so much good going on in the background of this because Wang and his uncle are talking about Lo Pan in this situation. It's very serious. It's very foreboding. Oh, he's dangerous. Why didn't you tell me about this? And Jack's just in the background arguing like, is this a switchboard? Can I talk to someone? No, I don't have my policy. He's just having all this like, it's so
I don't
great.
have that. It's in the glove compartment of my truck.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good. There's some amazing lines in that scene.
Okay, so for favorite or most memorable scene, 0 wrote the arrival of Rain, Thunder, and Lightning. It's visually fantastic, especially for the era this film was made. The way they raise up from the ground and pull out their weapons reminds me of anime and other martial arts films I was into at the time I found this movie. I'd been about 14 or so in the mid-90s.
Makes sense.
So for me, it's the Harry Swanson disguise scene.
Oh, of course it is.
No, Henry Swanson. Sorry.
Yeah. Want to follow that up? I mean, we did talk about it already.
But it's Kurt Russell at his finest. And I mean, he's really putting on the comedy chops here. He's got so many great lines. Like at one point, she asks him how he's going to pay, and he says like cash. He's like, can't really write this off. And then when he's in the room with the girl, and she's like, take your tie off. He's like, oh yeah, my wife gave it. He's just so good in this scene.
Yeah, it's very good.
You?
It would be our intro to Jack in the Pork Chop Express at the very beginning. It's the music. It's the rainy night. It's Kurt Russell hamming it up hard with some of the most terrible dialogue.
That was brilliant, dude.
It all comes together so well. Every time I think about this movie, like I forgot there's fucking monsters in this movie, because every time I think about Big Trouble in Little China, it's that scene. I forgot about the weird open with the lawyer and Egg Shen. I completely forgot that happened until I started watching it to talk about it on this podcast, because I thought it always opened with Jack in the truck on the radio. I love that scene. It's my favorite for sure.
I'm so proud of you, dude.
What?
You were talking about Jack in the Pork Chop Express, and you said he was hamming it up. I'm so proud of you, dude.
You got that?
Of course I did.
Awesome.
All right, so those are our awards. Why don't we move on to our final thoughts on this movie? Ben, what do you got for closing here?
I love this movie. I will always recommend it, with the caveat that a lot of it doesn't make sense. It's just so much fun to watch. I will recommend Carpenter. I will recommend Russell. I always will. This movie is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know what I would call it. I wouldn't call it an action comedy. There's just so many different elements in there. I feel like pretty much everyone nails the roles they're playing. The music is great. It looks good, except for that one monster. It irritates me. But it's just such a light-hearted, fun movie that you're going to laugh at some point. There's no way you're not going to. So if you're having a rough day, throw on Big Trouble in Little China. There's something in there that will bring a smile to your face at least once or twice. It's great to see everybody on screen. Ao Leong, as always. Honestly, there's not a lot of negative things I can say about Big Trouble in Little China. It's just all around a really fun movie, and I'm glad that we got to talk about it. Zero, thank you for picking this one.
Really? There's nothing bad you can say about it?
I can nitpick.
I don't think it's even nitpicks.
What's the point?
There are so many issues with, like we talked about, things just not mattering in the movie. I'm not saying that it makes it a bad movie, but to say that there isn't problems, I don't know, man. This is not a great movie. It's a fun movie, but it definitely has problems. And if you watch it for like analytical plot purposes, you're probably going to be disappointed. And that's why, much like many movies that I've recommended in the past, I'll recommend this one, but just turn your brain off and just watch it for fun. Because, yeah, you can get hung up on so many things, so many conveniences, powers that are just randomly there, characters that are pointless. I mean, you could trim this movie down, which is about an hour and 40 minutes, to easily an hour and a half by shaving out like that pointless monster, the Margot character, just a few nothing. The beginning scene with the lawyer, which really has no bearing on the movie whatsoever. But that doesn't take away from the movie just being fun, although it is very problematic.
Yeah, you can nitpick your way through it. I figured once you got about 20 minutes into this movie, you realized it's not one of those movies to analyze.
But I had to analyze it. That's the thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, you kind of have to let that go. We're analyzing it to talk about it on here. I don't think it takes anything away from the enjoyment of the movie.
No. And like I said, it's a fun movie. I recommend it, but it is problematic. As long as you know that going in, it won't bother you.
Yeah,
So that was our thoughts on Big Trouble in Little China. If you would like to share your thoughts with us, you can hit us up on social media. We are on Twitter at BSBargainBin, Facebook.com/BSBargainBin, BSBargainBin.com, and of course, YouTube.com/@BSBargainBin. Ben.
Yes.
Next week is my pick, as we are following up a listener pick now. And I do have 3 movies, once again, only one of which I have seen before and is still here from the original list of 3. But I'm going to give you the years.
Which is now the norm, it seems.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, there's still movies I would pick, but at least then I don't even know which one I'm doing.
All right.
98, 2005, 2009.
Let's go 2005.
All right, so this is the one movie that I have seen before that I am just eager, much like Pitch Black, to go back and watch and see. Is it as good as I recall? Because I did like it, even though it had a very mixed reception. It's starring good old Keanu Reeves, 2005's Constantine.
Oh, I've also been meaning to watch this recently.
Cold.
Sure about this?
No.
Mr. Constantine, I'd like to ask you a few questions. I know the circles you travel in, the occult, exorcisms.
Easy there, hero. That's Dragon's Breath.
I thought you couldn't get it anymore.
Oh, I know a guy who knows a guy.
I thought that you could at least point me in the right direction.
Yeah, okay, sure.
Please.
What if I told you that God and the devil made a wager for the souls of all mankind? No direct contact with humans, that would be the rule. Just influence. See who would win.
Demons stay in hell. Angels in heaven.
They call it the balance.
I need to see what you see.
You do this, there's no turning back. You see them. They see you. Understand? I command thee. Into the light I command thee. Go to hell.
Until next time, have a good one.
All the best.